All right, let's do a speed run of Volcano Island Excel Esports case. So I got to look up the arrows on here, and I do that with a X to call lambda. Just, I don't like to use indirect, so do that this way. Give this a name, ADDR for address, ARROW, what for arrow? Um, Now I just, let's look up this on addresses, returning arrow. All right, now I need, that plus the arrow move. So let's say I can do a start, I can do a move, and an end, right? So the start is here, the move is here, and the end is based on arrow move, start, and move. All right, so that should be good for level 2. Now we're going to do this, 15 times. Let's see, start is here, end is here. This is based on this, right? And this is here, sequence 15. So, just copy that down, finish it up like that. All right, so now we got to worry about it stopping, right? So let's see, I'm gonna look up what terrain. Same thing over here. So, another little X to call from here to here. It's not the same addresses because it's skipping the blanks, which are different in this case. Ooh, especially because that's not everything I need. First of all, I need the S's for C's. So I'm going to fill in the S's for C's. Now I'm ready to go. So yeah, because it skips the blank, it's not going to be the same addresses as on the other tabs. So I need a new name. This I'm going to call ADDR2. And this I'll call terrain. So now, X look up this on ADDR2, returning terrain. That goes here, here. I need to go down much farther. Let's go to 50. And do this, all right? But then we could end early, right? So we will be done if or the new terrain is a river, or if it's a sea, or if the move number is equal to the amount of magma we started with. So if any of those are true, then we're done. Otherwise, we are not done. So now I can just XLOOKUP 1 on here, and then it's asking for what the address that it ends in, which is here. All right. So now, this is just asking for the terrain here on this. So, the movement, what is 1, 0, 1, 0, 2, 3. It is just, XLOOKUP this on here, returning here. And now we're going to go with a speed, right? So if we know speed is based on this, right? Mouse is off center. So I look up the terrain here, we're turning on the speed. And now this is going to go, my arrow move lambda also has a number of steps, right? So that's how that works. This one we're going to do the same thing, but it's got to be based on the amount of magma that we start with, right? So let me add a couple more columns here. So this is, you know, the terrain speed. This is the magma start. And this is the actual speed, right? So if the terrain speed is here, oh, and this is all going to stay locked, right? The magma starts out at this number here, right? And then the speed is whatever the minimum of the speed it wants to be and how much magma's left. Then it's going to move based on this new adjusted speed. And then it's going to be done if, wow, I got to do what, magma end, right? So magma end is the magma start minus the speed, right? So that's where it ends up. So if the new terrain is a river or a sea, or if N20 equals 0, because we're out of magma, if any of those are true, then we're done. Otherwise, we're not done. And that's magma end. Magma start, the new magma start is now based on magma end. Speed is the same all the way down, right? So starts at 6 and goes to there. 4 and goes 3 to there from mountain. Four minus 3 is 1, so it goes 1 from, yeah, no, the speed is not included. All right, yeah, there we go. Now the speed's included. So now we look up 1 on the done and return on the address. Hopefully this will all be right. Let's see. Yep, 1,000 points. Which arrow is not in the level 1 answers? You know, count substring of, you know, concat all of this locked. So that's the big string. Then the little string is that, but has to be a cell, so be 10. That, the one that's missing is this one. Where does lava appear most frequently in levels 1 to 7, which is everything. So this is where it appears. Got a little control shift up shortcut there. No, nope, that's not right. Nope, that's not right either. Macros, frequency table, boom. All right, most frequent one will be highlighted here. It's AN47 with 3. How many cells contain water? All right, well, water is either S or R. So, you know, equals COUNTIF in this range here, that. As long as I keep this locked, I can just copy it down to here and add those to get 4213 according to the bottom bar. What does it go in the C in level 4? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. I mean, all I got to do is just look up where does it end, right? And then turn this all on. And then COUNTIF this is the C is 4. All right, now we got to pick every single cell. Oh no, what is the sum of these game numbers? Okay, that's fine, that's fine. Equals if B21 equals S, then the game number, which is here, otherwise 0. Not just counting, we're adding together the game numbers. Add those together, 293, according to the bottom. All right, so now what's the longest path of arrows? This is a little tricky. Why don't we start with this one since it's like the simplest path. So this is going to be, you know, full path. I'm going to go ahead and guess that 100 will be enough for this. If I get an answer of 100, that means I'm wrong. I need to consider the reason why this is tricky is because there are a lot of possible answers, and it's not the topography ones, but it's the arrows. You can start on anything with an arrow, which is here. So all of these are possible starts, and there's almost 5,000 of them. All right, so I got to make this run fast. I can't have it just XLOOKUPing 1,000 times in a row and not finding the answer. So let me start by copying this over. Maybe go faster from the same sheet. Some documentation said that. I don't know if it's true. All right, so XLOOKUP, I will make it be the same sheet instead of having to go to a different sheet or use the name manager. All right. And then if it is empty, give me an X. Right? So, and also I'm going to say if this equals X, then X. So if there's an X, I'm going to have it just propagate through as X's instead of doing all the calculations. So, because it should sort short circuit logic, right? If it's an X, it should stop immediately. All right, so if that equals X, then just X. Otherwise, figure out the arrow move. All right, same thing here. If this is X, then X. Otherwise, carry over. Everything else should be good. This one actually stops like right away, right? Go down 100 spaces here. And then the answer is the done. You're done. In this case, it only moved 1, right? It moved 1. So the answer would be 1 if this was correct, right? So if this equals X, then 1, otherwise 0, right? Because then my answer is XLOOKUP 1 on here, returning here, right? If 21 equals X, then 1, otherwise 0, right? Because this should just give me a 1. But then if it's like a M2, I don't know, find one of these that doesn't, that actually goes for a second here. Here it goes 2 moves, it goes here to here, here to here, and then this is the ocean. So the answer would be 2 in this case. All right, so now I'm gonna save this just in case I crash Excel. And hopefully this will be solvable in some type of reasonable amount of time. It's not gonna be fast. All right, that's the column input cell. You know, VBA or Python would do these faster. I tried to make sure that the lookups, like it's not going to look up forever on this whole line, right? It's just going to look up till it finds the first one and then stop. If it gets to the bottom, it's going to X, and then all of these should just X out without doing any additional lookups. So hopefully that makes it a little bit faster. I don't know if anybody has any ideas of how to make this faster without doing the whole thing in Python, for example. I would be interested to hear that, because there's definitely a number of cases you're going to see in Excel Esports where they're like, well, what if you tested all 5,000 possibilities, right? The biggest one was in the almost there case where we had to test 9 factorial possibilities. It's the biggest one so far. I don't know. We'll see if somebody else wants us to test more possibilities than that. This one, though, I feel like when I tested it last time, it was just a little bit right around a minute. I don't know. I haven't paid attention how far in we're on this. It's real tough during an actual competition to sit and watch the hourglass and be like, I think this is gonna work. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Like, I guess a strategy you could do, right, is if you don't know for sure if this is gonna work, you could do it on like the first 200 and see how long that takes. And if the first 200 are very quick, then you could probably do the whole thing, right? That was more than a minute, I feel like. I don't know. I'll look on the YouTube video. I'll see how long it actually was. All right, so the maximum of this is 57. 57. Stop the timer. Thank you for watching. Bye.